Well, good afternoon, everybody. Rick Moore here, and I'm the founder at BidPoint Business Solutions. We're a cost reduction company, and we've been at it for about 10 years now. And I've got with me a special guest, Stephen Small. His company is STS Wireless Consulting, and we've had a great relationship with Stephen, some great clients and great success stories, and also great working relationships. So, Stephen, how you doing today?
I'm great, Rick. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and I know you got quite a story to tell. So we've got potential people out there that could certainly take advantage of some eye-popping things that you've got to talk about that a lot of people don't know about.
That sounds great. Well, I will jump in here and kind of give you a little background and then tell you what we're doing currently. I've been in the wireless business for 22 years. The last 12, I've been doing wireless cost reduction. And one of the things I learned in my career as a wireless accountant and manager was that the carriers do a very good job at maximizing their revenue off of their customers. And we have taken advantage of that. And what we have learned is how to do extremely successful cost reduction on the wireless side. We typically, when we engage with a prospective customer, we request that we can go back and look at their account and do a 12-month no charge audit. That means we literally look at every line on their account and what they have done in the last 12 years. And what we're focusing on is the data usage. There was a time it was about minutes, as we all know, but now it's all data driven. The carriers have done an outstanding job of pushing their customers to unlimited plans. And in many cases, that is appropriate. However, what we found is that in many cases, it's not appropriate. And all the carriers have plans for small data usage. And what we do is we find out what the user's average usage is on data, and then we get them to the right plan. So instead of paying $45 a month for an unlimited plan, we can get them down as low as $16 a month. Now, what makes this special is the only compensation we ever get for this is a portion of the savings. And that is only after we have done these savings, they're on the bill, the customer has received the savings, they've been verified. We do a complete audit every single month, showing the customer exactly where they are. Now, some of the things that are important to get us here is, of course, getting a plan of the appropriate customer. We typically like to work with customers who have at least 50 data devices. And as Rick has told me many times, it's not phones anymore, it's data devices. Because there's pads, there's hotspots, there's all sorts of data devices that have to be fed by the carrier. And that's where we do most of the savings is through the data devices. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't get smartphones to smaller bundled plans as well, but it's less driven that way as it is by the data usage on devices and smartphones. So we've been doing this now for a long time. We have some very large, very successful opportunities that we've been able to take. And one of the most recent is a very large manufacturing company in Northwest Georgia. And when we first looked at their bill, they were averaging $170,000 a month. They are now at $110,000 a month. So this is something that we're able to do consistently. And Rick, the most important point I think we can make is it doesn't matter what size the company is and how many wireless devices they have. This is the same basic principle for every customer. We're going to save them 20 to 35%. In fact, we've never saved the customer less than 20%, nor have we ever audited a customer who could not find 20% in savings. So the money is there, but it's more than just the money. I also work with my brother, Earl Small, who is a CPA before he went to work for Yamaha Motor Corporation. There he was the internal auditor. So he has helped us develop a reporting program that allows us to customize our monthly reports for the customer in a way that they don't have to do anything. We can take it all the way down to the journal entry. They match up our numbers to the wireless account. They see they match, and they don't have to spend half a day working on trying to figure out what their bill is. because they never will. But regardless, we make sure that the customer is aware of exactly what we've done every month and are very comfortable with our savings moving forward. We're always looking for new savings as well. Quite often after we have a customer for a number of months, they've added a number of devices. So once those devices are on for 6 months, we audit them and make sure we get them on the right plans as well. So we're always looking for more savings, and we're always a step ahead of what the carrier is trying to do.
Well, I think that it's a really great process. So in the beginning, we have a potential client that shows interest, and as long as we've got in excess of 50 devices, in all likelihood, and in our experience, as I mentioned, our company BidPoint's been around 10 years. You've been around longer than that, and we've worked together for 6 years. So we've seen a lot of different kinds of clients, and no matter what the circumstance, no matter what the type of client, there's always been savings demonstrated, significant savings. And so, the fact that we then go through the process, it's kind of a free look-see kind of a thing. And if we decide to do engagement at that point, it's a very light engagement, right? Talk about how the engagement actually physically works for a client.
Absolutely. And that's a good point, Rick. 22 years in the wireless business for me, 12 doing wireless cost reduction. We've gotten pretty good at what we're doing. So the first thing we do when we approach a client is we ask them if we can do an initial no charge 12 month look back audit.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And to do this, all we need is view only access to the customer's wireless account. This means that we can pull reports, we can measure their data usage and what the plan's usage they need. And if it makes sense, and if we identify a certain threshold of savings, then we know that we have a good match with the customer. We typically come back to the customer and say, we have identified at least 25% in savings, so it makes sense for us to move forward. On the other hand, if we ever did run into an account where we could not identify any savings, we don't have to make a contractual commitment, and neither do they. So that's a win-win on that side. Now,
right.
We
might be able to make that a challenge.
That right? Is a challenge. Well, in 12 years,
we haven't found one.
Not yet. No. Not yet. In fact, we not even come close. And this is not by accident. The carriers are very good at maximizing their revenue. That's what they do, and it's understandable. We're very good at getting that maximized revenue back to the customer and putting it in their pocket, and at the same time saving them time every month, not having to do a full audit on their own.
Right. No, I think that it's such a great situation, especially now. I mean, everything's escalating, everything's climbing, prices are going crazy.
Absolutely.
We've been, as you have been, very busy, and but we feel like this particular service is such a no-brainer. It's very, very light on the client. You're taking work off the client. You're finding profit for the client and increasing the value of that client's business. In fact, some of these numbers you're talking about, when you increase a client's profitability by tens of thousands of dollars, you're actually increasing the value of the company. So, there's that to it too. So, and it doesn't have to be a massive company, but you can do companies in terms of number of devices, what's your biggest client?
Well, the one we're working with currently that I mentioned has 3,200 wireless devices.
3,200.
3,200. So when we took those 12 months and stacked those on top of each other, we had like 400 and something thousand lines on the spreadsheet of
wow.
So thank goodness for spreadsheets and pivot tables, because they make our life much easier. But we're able to truly identify exactly what each average of what each device is using over a 12-month period, which gives us a great ability to go forward with that information.
Right. And I know we've got some relatively small clients that we've done with you, and some relatively large ones too. But the result's been the same. And it doesn't seem to be, your business model is almost agnostic to size. It can unlimited, it's got really unlimited scaling.
That's exactly true.
Yeah. So that's what's exciting about
it. It's interesting that the larger the account, the more they need us, because the more difficult it is for them to manage it.
Right.
So if you have 50 lines, it's a little easier to manage that and keep up with it. When you've got 3,200, it becomes a team chore for them that we take off their plate and put on ours.
Mhm. What is Stephen? What your target industry is? What are some of the best kinds of clients for you to work with?
There are such a list of them, but the big ones
I
that
know it could be. I realize it could be anybody, but
it can be, but construction companies,
Mhm.
medical centers, large manufacturing companies, anybody that has trucks on the road or has salespeople out. I know I was talking to a gentleman the other day, and they do service for electronics, and everybody that they have takes the pad with them. So everybody's using data, and everybody needs data, and they need to buy it at the appropriate price.
right, right, and it can be kind of a process to get in touch with the right kind of a client. But my feeling is when we have come across the right person, we've flown through the process and they realize the results pretty quickly because from the time that you engage with them in a discovery sense to making a commitment to move forward, you're really only talking about their actual savings start happening in a month or two.
Absolutely. Once we get access to their wireless account, it takes us about a week to turn it around and to find out exactly where we need to be. So we send that over to the prospective customer. And once they have signed the master services agreement, then we're set and we move forward. Now we turn this around very quickly then. We get it to the carrier and we let the carrier know at the next billing cycle
Mhm.
what these changes made. And they get their rep involved and their carrier. And we don't mind meeting with the rep and the carriers.
Mhm.
That's something we do very often.
Yep.
At the end of the day, they can't say, no, this makes no sense to save a lot of money.
Right.
They don't want to, but they
Right.
have to.
Well, they're on the other side of the business, right?
They
I mean,
absolutely are.
it's as we know from the cost reduction programs that we operate and work with. I mean, this is a necessary business. I mean, somebody has to be watching out on your behalf, and the likelihood you could have somebody internally in a company to do this sort of a thing is less than zero. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's just not that kind of person's not on staff, which is
That's
fine. And, you're a platform for them to work with, and then your continual kind of overwatch of their plan ongoing is an invaluable service too. And certainly over a period of time, they can certainly learn some things themselves, and they're going to benefit from that forever.
absolutely. And Rick, I think it's interesting that we are the only company I know of in the whole United States that does what we do. We
Yeah.
have no relationships with any of the carriers contractually. We don't work for the carriers. We work for our customers, and we're
Mhm.
their advocate back to the carrier. So recently, when we did this very large account I mentioned, we also went through their contract uh, with the carrier and advised them on how to get the most out of their contract as far as rate plans and early termination fees and those type of things. So we have learned a lot from our customers, and we always do and always will, but we sure do have a lot to bring to the table.
Well, Stephen, I appreciate you taking this time and to share your expertise and some of the stories. The last thing I want to ask you is let's talk about the math of just a few different stories, like
Okay.
what kind of savings some clients have realized. I know we talked about some percentages, but just pick a couple and let's talk about say three.
Okay. Well, this one we just mentioned, uh, if a rep had brought that into us, then the monthly savings there at 45% would be our portion. And of course, then the customer gets 55%. Then the rep will get a portion of that savings every month. And honestly, one account like that would be almost a year's income. It's that large, but that's rare that you get one that large. So let's look at a hospital we did here locally. They had 125 beds. Their bill was running about 12,000 a month. We were able to get that down to about $8,000 a month. So that was $4,000 in savings. And when you divide that up, I'll let you do the math, Rick.
Yeah, that's a big number.
That's a big number. And you only have to have 6 or 7 nice accounts to be pushing 6 figures annually.
Yeah, no, it's definitely but it's a win-win. You know, it's the client who's gaining most of the money in the transaction without putting anything up front. It's a client.
In
The
fact, who
client
else?
is absolutely the one that benefits the most in this, and without anything out of pocket, it's pretty extraordinary.
Well, what other company comes to you and says, we want to give you money and time? And that really is what we do. And that is very unique and very special. And we do it in a way that we build a relationship with the customer, and we do the right thing for the customer and always make sure that we put their needs ahead of ours.
Well, like I say, I love it. We've been working with you for half a dozen years now, and we're gonna take it on into the future for as long as they have wireless devices and as long as you want to keep doing it, right? So
I have no end in
I know
sight.
you're piling it up, so it's.
I love it. I
Well,
enjoy
thank you
it.
again, Stephen, and for anybody watching this video, please get back with the person that got in touch with you, be it BidPoint or be it STS, and look forward to engaging with you in the future and creating some win-wins for everybody.
Let's do it. Let's make some money for us and for our customers.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.